It all started innocently enough when they planned a bachelorette party for Emily's closest friend Natalie's wedding. In Miami, Emily told me with a disarming smile as she packed her suitcase that it would only be 2 days. We'll drink cocktails, go to the beach, and celebrate Natalie's last days. As a single woman, when Emily returned, something seemed off at first. I couldn't put my finger on it. She was quieter than usual, distracted, almost as if her mind was far away that evening. When her phone buzzed while we were sitting on the couch, she quickly grabbed it, laughed nervously, and put it face down on the table. "Who is it?" I asked. She replied, too quickly, still giddy from her trip. Perhaps I should have pushed, but instead I dismissed it and told myself I was imagining things. Another week went by, and Emily was still acting strangely jittery and distant. She started going to bed later than usual, scrolling through her phone into the early hours of the morning. She also began avoiding any kind of intimacy, dismissing my advances with excuses about being stressed or tired. One night, I made the decision to confront her. "Emily," I said, standing in the doorway of our bedroom with my arms crossed. She looked up from her phone. "Surprised? What's going on?" I asked. "I'm not sure what you mean," she replied, sitting on the edge of the bed. Her face went pale for a moment before forcing a smile. "Of course not, Ryan. You're being paranoid." I wanted to believe her, so I put it aside for a time. 2 days later, Emily had gone out for a stroll. As I was getting ready to leave the house, I realized I couldn't find my car keys. I looked in the drawer by the door and on the kitchen counter, but they weren't there. Then it occurred to me Emily had borrowed my car earlier that morning because her own had broken down. I went to her purse, which was hanging by the coat rack, and opened it to find the keys, but along with them I found a receipt from Miami Incorporated Tattoo Studio. The date matched the weekend of her bachelorette trip. When Emily returned home, her eyes widened. When I showed her the receipt, she stammered, "Oh, Natalie dared me to get a tiny one there." "Where's the tattoo?" I asked doubtfully. After pausing, Emily slightly lowered the waistline of her jeans to reveal a small heart near her hip. At first I noticed nothing unusual, but when I examined it more closely, I saw a letter, R delicately etched in the center. My stomach plummeted. "What is this, Emily?" I asked, my voice hardening. Her cheeks renayed, and she shuffled uneasily before smiling nervously. I thought it was a cute gesture for Ryan, but it's not a big deal. My chest tightened. I nodded slowly, though everything inside me screamed for more answers. The following day I called Natalie, keeping my tone light. I asked, "Quick question, what's up with Emily getting a tattoo in Miami?" There was a pause. "Yes," Natalie said, her voice hesitant. "It was a hectic night. She was a rather drunk, but Emily didn't drink much, and she wasn't the type to get a tattoo on a whim. That night I did something I never thought I would. I snooped while Emily was in the shower. Her phone buzzed on the coffee table. A message notification appeared. The name Megan caught my eye, but the message itself made my blood run cold. "I want to meet you again," a knot formed in my gut. Something wasn't right. She had changed her passcode since Miami, but I knew her well enough to guess it after 2 tries. I opened her phone and found a message thread with Megan. It was empty except for that single message. Suspicious. I copied the number and saved it to my phone. When Emily came out of the shower, I asked, "Who's Megan?" Her eyes widened for a moment before she forced a smile. "Oh, Megan, she's a coworker friend." I wasn't buying it. Her nervous laugh and evasive tone only fueled my doubts. The next day, unable to shake the feeling, I called the number I had copied from her phone. After a few rings, a man answered. "Hello, hi, I'm looking for Megan," I said, my voice shaking. The man paused. "There's no Megan here, dude. You must have the wrong number." I froze, apologizing quickly. I hung up, my face flooded with anger and confusion that night while Emily slept. On the couch, exhausted, I checked her phone again. This time I found the conversation with Megan hidden in the archive. My stomach dropped as I scrolled through the messages. The dates lined up with her Miami trip. My hands trembled as I pieced everything together. This wasn't just paranoia anymore, it was betrayal. Last night was fantastic. Megan's initial message read, "It was very clear I can't stop thinking about you and can't wait to see you again." I gazed at it, my heart pounding as I continued to scroll. The contact name that appeared next made my hand shake. I paused, squinting, trying to process what I was seeing. I took a long breath and continued reading. That was the happiest night of my life, Megan had written, but Megan wasn't a real person. Emily had used a woman's name to disguise the fact that she was chatting with a man named Richard. My throat constricted as I read Emily's messages, which became more intimate and personal. She had messaged him about how he made her feel paralyzed and that she couldn't stop thinking about him. These weren't just flirtatious feelings, they were real, raw emotions, and I saw something that made my blood freeze. Emily had sent Richard private images and videos of them together while they were nude, and during the ACT I couldn't take my eyes off the screen. Every picture and video served as a devastating reminder of her betrayal. As I scrolled, my heart pounded and I felt sick to my stomach, but it didn't end there. I sat there, my mind racing, staring at the screen, unable to process what I was seeing. All I knew was that my world had just collapsed. The woman I loved and trusted had betrayed me in ways I could never have imagined. Then came the realization that the tattoo she had shown me, the tiny heart on her hip with the letter inside, which she claimed was for me, had actually been meant for Richard. It hit me hard, but my instincts took over. I couldn't let this go unanswered. With shaking hands, I transferred the videos, pictures, and messages to my phone, each file a painful reminder of her betrayal. I then deleted Richard's chat from her phone so she wouldn't know I had discovered the truth. The next morning, I made an appointment with a lawyer. I didn't waste any time. I wanted to file for divorce and protect myself, ensuring Emily wouldn't take anything from me. The lawyer's office was cold and sterile, but it gave me the clarity I needed. I had worked hard for everything, my bank accounts, my properties, and going to let her ruin it all. I left that office with a renewed sense of determination. This wasn't going to be easy, but I had taken the first step toward securing my future. The next and most challenging step was waiting. I knew Emily would be home soon. It was the longest day of my life. I sat at the kitchen table, carefully typing everything into a single text message. Every word had to strike hard. I intended to send it to everyone we knew, friends, family, everyone who deserved to know the truth. I attached the photos, texts, and videos, making sure they had all the evidence of Emily's affair with Richard. When I heard the front door open, my heart skipped a beat. Emily walked in, her face lighting up when she saw me, but her expression quickly changed when she noticed the phone in my hand. "What's going on, Ryan?" she asked, her voice shaky. I didn't say anything. Instead, I handed her the phone, letting her see everything. The text, the pictures, the videos. Her betrayal was laid out in front of her. Undeniable. Emily stammered, "I can explain." "Ryan, please," but I cut her off. "You've been lying to me this entire time. Is this what you've been doing behind my back? Who is Richard?" "Emily, what is this?" Her eyes flickered between the screen and the floor, unable to meet mine. Her lips trembled and her face went pale. She opened her mouth, but the words seemed to stick in her throat. I didn't mean for it to happen. I was intoxicated, and it was just one mistake, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "Just one mistake," I repeated, my voice filled with disbelief. "You slept with him twice, Emily. You even got a tattoo for him, and lied to me about it. Tears streamed down her face as she sobbed, "I'm sorry, Ryan. It was the biggest mistake of my life, but I couldn't hold back my anger. The biggest mistake of your life, even in the messages you told him it was the best night of your life. Who are you trying to fool?" Her sobs grew louder, but I was done listening. "I can't even look at you right now," I said coldly. You've made your choices, Emily, and now you'll face the consequences." "What are you talking about?" she asked, panic rising in her voice. "I filed for divorce," I said flatly, "and now everyone knows the truth. Everyone knows what you've done." Her face went white with shock. "You can't do this," she whispered, but I shook my head. "You don't get to play the victim here, Emily. This is on you." The fallout was swift. Emily's family saw the evidence, the photos, the text, the videos, and they were as shocked as I was. My friends and family rallied behind me, supporting me every step of the way. The divorce was finalized quickly. I made sure to protect everything I had worked for: the house, the cars, the accounts Emily left with nothing. Time went by and the pain gradually lessened. The person I thought I knew, the woman I loved, was gone, but I was getting stronger every day. The truth, as painful as it was, had set me free. Emily eventually faded from my life, taking the life we had built together with her. There was no regret on my part, only the bitter reality of what had happened. I moved on stronger and wiser. Thank you for watching. It all began as a simple, harmless plan, just a weekend getaway to celebrate Natalie's upcoming wedding. Emily had been excited, flashing me a carefree smile as she packed her suitcase. "It's only 2 days," she reassured me. Cocktails, the beach, and celebrating Natalie's last days as a single woman. But when she returned, something felt different. At first, I couldn't quite put my finger on it. She was quieter than usual, distracted, as though her mind was somewhere else entirely. That evening, as we sat together on the couch, her phone buzzed. She grabbed it quickly, let out a nervous laugh, and placed it face down on the table. "Who was that?" I asked casually. Her response came too fast, her tone too light. "Oh, just a friend from the trip." Maybe I should have pressed her, but I convinced myself I was imagining things and let it go. As the days passed, the unease grew. Emily seemed jittery, distant. She stayed up late, glued to her phone, scrolling through messages long into the night. When I reached for her, she pulled away, dismissing my touch with tired excuses. Then, one evening, I decided I couldn't ignore it any longer. Standing in the doorway of our bedroom, arms crossed, I confronted her. "Emily, what's going on?" She looked up from her phone, startled. "What do you mean?" Her face paled for the briefest moment before she forced a smile. "Ryan, you're being paranoid." I wanted to believe her. I really did. So, I buried my doubts, at least for the time being. 2 days later, she went out for a walk. As I got ready to leave the house, I realized my car keys were missing. I checked the usual spots, the kitchen counter, the drawer by the door, but they weren't there. Then I remembered Emily had borrowed my car that morning since hers had broken down. Her purse was hanging by the coat rack. I hesitated for only a second before opening it. My fingers found the keys easily enough, but along with them, a crumpled receipt caught my eye. Miami Incorporated Tattoo Studio. The date matched the weekend of her trip. When Emily returned, her eyes widened the moment she saw the receipt in my hand. She stammered, "Oh, Natalie dared me to get a tiny one." I studied her face. "Where is it?" She hesitated, then slowly lowered the waistline of her jeans, revealing a small heart inked near her hip. At first, it seemed harmless, but as I looked closer, I noticed something else, a letter, carefully etched inside the heart. An R. My stomach twisted. "What is this, Emily?" My voice was low, steady, but firm. Her cheeks flushed. She shuffled awkwardly, then forced a nervous laugh. I thought it was a cute gesture, for Ryan. Something inside me clenched. I nodded slowly, but my mind raced. The next day, I called Natalie. Keeping my tone light, I asked, quick question. What's the deal with Emily getting a tattoo in Miami? A pause. Then, yeah, it was a crazy night. She was pretty drunk, but Emily didn't drink much. And she definitely wasn't the kind to get a tattoo on a whim. That night, I did something I never thought I would. While Emily was in the shower, her phone buzzed on the coffee table. A notification popped up. Megan, I want to meet you again. A cold knot formed in my stomach. She had changed her passcode since Miami, but I knew her well enough to guess. 2 tries later, I was in. The message thread with Megan was empty, except for that one message. Suspicious. I copied the number and saved it. When Emily emerged from the bathroom, I asked, "Who's Megan?" Her eyes widened for a fraction of a second before she recovered, forcing a smile. "Oh, Megan? She's a co-worker. A friend." I wasn't convinced. The nervous laugh, the slight edge in her voice. It only made my doubts stronger. The next day, unable to shake the feeling, I called the number. After a few rings, a man's voice answered. "Hello." My heart pounded. "Hi, I'm looking for Megan." A pause. Then, "There's no Megan here, dude. You must have the wrong number." I froze. Apologizing quickly, I hung up, my face burning with anger and confusion. That night, while Emily slept on the couch, exhausted, I checked her phone again. This time, I found the conversation with Megan hidden in the archive. My stomach dropped as I scrolled through the messages. The dates lined up with her Miami trip. My hands trembled as I pieced everything together. This wasn't just paranoia anymore. It was betrayal. Megan's first message. "Last night was fantastic." I swallowed hard as I kept reading. "I can't stop thinking about you and can't wait to see you again." My heart pounded. Then I saw something that made my blood run cold. The contact name might have said Megan, but the messages? They weren't from a woman. They were from someone named Richard. Emily had used a fake name to disguise who she was really talking to. Her responses were even worse. She had poured her heart out to him. She told him how he made her feel alive, how she couldn't stop thinking about him. And then, the ultimate betrayal. I found explicit images and videos she had sent to Richard. My hands shook. My vision blurred. It was undeniable. Emily had lied. She had cheated. I couldn't let this go unanswered. I transferred every message, every image, every video to my phone. Then, I deleted Richard's chat from her phone so she wouldn't know I had discovered the truth. The next morning, I made an appointment with a lawyer. Emily had made her choice. Now, she would face the consequences.